Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, February the 5th, 2024, and the moon is in Sagittarius. The moon represents or describes the general public tone, the public reactions. So the moon goes through all 12 signs every 4 weeks. When it's in Sagittarius, Sagittarius being a fire sign, it triggers a lot of enthusiasm, optimism, high energy. Sagittarius is an adventurous sign. Now, Mercury is the messenger god in mythology. Mercury is about information, communication. What are you thinking about? What are you analyzing? Mercury will be crossing over Pluto about once a year. Pluto represents things that are hidden, secretive, but also can represent the psychology and the occult. And so, such as astrology. So the Mercury on Monday could bring much more of a strong interest in psychology or keeping secrets or revealing secrets. Now, on Tuesday, the 6th, now the moon will be in Capricorn. Capricorn's an earth sign. It's conventional, it's steady, it's responsible. Whereas when it was on Monday in Sag, Sag is so outgoing and adventurous. In Capricorn, for those next 2.5 days, the general tone is more on accomplishment, practicality, good for business, and the moon will be in harmony with Jupiter and Saturn late afternoon Pacific time. Jupiter is the planet of expansiveness. It's actually the planet that rules Sagittarius. Jupiter brings opportunities and growth and luck. Saturn is that planet of responsibilities. It's actually the planet that rules or associated with the sign Capricorn. And so with the moon in Capricorn in harmony with Saturn, it brings, by late afternoon Pacific time, it triggers a lot of drive for accomplishment, but with also at roughly the same time, the moon's in harmony with Jupiter. Jupiter's bringing opportunities, bringing luck, bringing protection. So this late afternoon Pacific time is really favorable for accomplishing your goals or starting a business or going on a job interview. On Wednesday, the 7th, the moon in practical Capricorn is going to cross over Venus, the planet of love and creativity. When the emotional bonding moon crosses over Venus, it really emphasizes a strong need to connect personally, romantically, can be a strong desire to express yourself creatively. Now, Venus is the planet of relationships and creativity, and on Wednesday, about twice a year, it's going to be in harmony, called a trine, to a progressive original Uranus. That Venus-Uranus is really favorable for new creative ideas, also new ways of making money, because Venus is also associated with finance. But this could mean an unexpected sudden infatuation. Uranus also represents group activities and friendships. So you might be compelled, you might be more encouraged to hang out with friends or get involved with some type of social networking group activity. Also during the day, with that favorable Venus-Uranus, is assertive Mars, the warrior planet, the aggressive planet, will be in harmony with empathetic, dreamy, creative Neptune. Now, Mars-Neptune, on one hand, can trigger a strong desire to help those less fortunate, because Neptune is this altruistic, compassionate energies. But Neptune can also be this musical, rhythmic energies. And Mars, being the warrior planet, it also represents muscles and being the athlete. And so Mars with Neptune, favorable, is very positive for dancing, for yoga, for swimming. These are because Mars is all that athletic energy with the favorable energies of Neptune, and with Venus, social Venus, with favorable with Uranus, with hanging out with friends. This would be a good day, Wednesday evening, for a party, attending social events, to go out dancing. On Thursday, the 8th, the Sun is going to be in a hard angle with Uranus. That's a day of sudden surprises, but also good for breaking out of old routines, trying something new. The Moon will enter into Aquarius at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Aquarius is the sign ruled by Uranus. And so all this Uranus-Aquarius energy is beginning to awaken on Thursday. That's all this innovation, thinking out of the box, more open to technology, more open to reinventing yourself and trying all new ideas. Now, on Friday, it will be when we'll have the new moon. When the moon in Aquarius that started on Thursday will exactly align with the sun in Aquarius. So once a month, the moon catches up to the sun, and it starts a whole new lunar cycle where our attention is being redirected to a new area of life. This new moon in Aquarius, all things Uranus, because Uranus rules Aquarius, is going to be more emphasized, more liberation, more open to new ideas, new technologies. However, this new moon is going to be in a hard angle, this tension with Uranus. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So this is going to indicate that over the next several weeks, there might be some real unexpected upsets, a lot of dramatic changes going on with that Sun Uranus, but could be there could be a lot of focus on technology, on the positive, but also perhaps a drive for more personal freedoms. That's Uranus. Saturday, the 10th, the moon enters Pisces at 5:43 a.m. Pacific time for those next 2.5 days. Where the moon was in Aquarius, and that new moon in Aquarius, it's more cerebral, more in your head. And sometimes the energy is much more detached emotionally. But when the moon goes into Pisces, that public response is going to be much more sensitive, more compassionate, more caring. And Mercury, discerning, communication, planning Mercury, will be impacted in a hard angle, kind of a push from expansive Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of optimism and opportunity, so there's not like a negative energies, but with Mercury in a hard angle to Jupiter all day Saturday, whatever you're expecting, that's Mercury, you might have been overinflated. You might be making plans, travel plans, educational plans, but taking on too much. And so this can be really favorable energy if you keep to moderation, if you keep the bar low, but anything that's over the top and overinflated with your decisions will probably have to be cut back at a later time. On Sunday, as the moon continues in sensitive Pisces, it's going to be in harmony with Uranus about noon, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. So that can bring in a lot of emotional, that's the moon, surprises, that's Uranus. Good for trying all new things, getting out of any kind of stuck, boring routines. And by mid-evening Pacific time, around 8 p.m., the moon will be in harmony with Venus, loving, creative, cooperative Venus. Now, if you're on the East Coast of the United States, if you're in Europe, you're more likely asleep. But then that moon Venus would give sweet dreams, a really comfortable sleep. But it also depends on your own chart and other factors happening. But this could be, if you're still awake and it's a Sunday evening, this would be very favorable for having an emotional, romantic connection. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.